been watching the third State of the Nation address of Philippine President Benigno Aquino III. It is the 26th since 1987, the 73rd since 1936. He spoke one of the most applauded State of the Nation addresses among his three, partly because he now has a solid hold, reflective probably of his solid hold on Congress. Key messages. His main message is that the Philippines is no longer the sixth man of Asia. He introduced increases in budgets for education, health, housing. He focused on cash transfers for the poor. He urged Congress to pass 3 bills, the sin tax bill, which if approved will generate 30 billion pesos in additional revenues a year. He also talked about mining and passing, he referred to the RH bill when he was talking about increasing schools and classrooms, and said that he hoped that responsible parenthood is the answer to get rid of the backlog. That got the loudest applause in the State of the Nation address. Lala Raimondo is with me, business editor of Rappler. Lala, what do you make of this State of the Nation address?
I wasn't surprised.
Why?
We know that, I've heard infrastructure, tourism, agriculture in his past 2 SONAs already. We know that those are the pillars of his administration's economic agenda.
Okay. Infrastructure, you mentioned again. Infrastructure,
agriculture, tourism.
And tourism. And each one of these, he actually touted them as successes, and yet they're actually incomplete stories, correct? Where did he succeed in infrastructure, agriculture, and agriculture?
Tourism.
Hold on a second. Let's go to the video that we're showing on the live stream. We're seeing former President Fidel Ramos there, and now President Aquino is shaking hands. He just passed former President Estrada, and now you can see President Estrada there, and Vice President Binay was earlier in the row, so he's making his way out of Congress. Lala, let's go back to you and those 3 pillars of his administration. We spoke briefly about infrastructure. He touted it as a success. Do you agree with him?
Partly.
Okay.
Not in all. For example, he enumerated a lot of airports there.
Correct.
Airports that are outside Metro Manila.
Including San Vicente and Palawan.
In Palawan.
Yes, and Boracay, yes. So, airports outside of Manila.
Yes, and NAIA in particular, the congested Manila airport, the main gateway at the moment. But at the start of his speech, he also mentioned past anomalies, including North Rail,
correct,
which is crucial in connecting Metro Manila to Clark.
Okay.
Which I'm not sure anymore if it's still the main alternative gateway next to Manila. That's still crucial in the network of airports and air access that you need for tourism.
He mentioned 7,239 kilometers of roads that will be added to national roads by 2012. What do you make of that?
About that?
Yes.
Actually, part of the 6.4% surprise growth in first quarter has something to do with some form of economic activity. If it came from that, go ahead. But we also know that the budget department has been releasing funds already for some infrastructure.
Correct.
We didn't see it in the airports. It must be going to the roads.
Interesting. To me, he talked about tourist arrivals and really focused attention on what is supposed to be a very big thing for the Philippines now, right? 1.8 million went up to 2.1 million tourist arrivals. What did you make of that?
That's like 300,000 difference for 2 months.
Okay.
That's a big jump already compared to before, and we attribute this, and most of the stakeholders have been thanking the rapid growth of the airline industry for this.
Right. It's interesting to me, though, again, looking at the region, because these tourist arrivals are still very low numbers for a country of 94 million people. Singapore, which has 5 million people, has tourist arrivals of 5 million people onto this little 600 square kilometer island. This there's no context of that proved here. I mean, he didn't actually mention where we need to go with it, how much further we need to go. I mean, what do you make of that?
He did say that there's a 10 million target by 2016, but how to get, I think he's trying to also balance. Okay, remember last year we promised you 10 million by
Right.
2016, but how are we going there? We don't have the airports yet. How do people go from Manila to Boracay to Palawan to, I mean, the airports are not yet there. These airlines couldn't fly there at night because
Right.
they don't have night landing capabilities yet. I think what he's trying to do is to also give us, again, promises of what to expect in the coming years.
What did you make of the reception in Congress this year?
Because there's a lot of applauses at this time. Interesting to have him be received that well.
What was also interesting in this time around was a camaraderie. He mentioned many more people. He thanked the cabinet. He
Right.
positioned the State of the Nation address to be the achievement of the Filipino people. Is that interesting?
Yes, he was naming specific individuals, Almendras, Villanueva.
Well, on energy, again, let me
Yeah.
ask you the true state of energy, because he did name Secretary Almendras and talked about power, and yet it's not quite a rosy picture in terms of energy today. Where are we in energy?
We have very thin supply reserve. Okay, what he presented a while ago is actually the populist part of it. You know, we're putting lights to this far-flung areas, which basically actually goes to our electricity bill in
Right.
the Rappler anime that we've done. It shows you that those activities,
Yes.
those electricity lighting activities, are subsidized by us.
Correct. The reality also is that right now we don't have enough power supply,
Right.
and the actual mechanism to try to bring the cost of electricity down is not functioning because we don't have enough power supply. What are the government's plans to deal with this?
I think at the moment we're still carrying out the EPIRA law, which was passed in 2001. The thing with energy is that it has such an impact on our
everything.
personal lives,
Correct.
as well as in manufacturing. But energy is a business that involves long-range planning. Look, we're still doing EPIRA, which was passed a decade ago.
During the Ramos administration.
Yes,
Right.
and it's not yet complete. The promises of lower prices, power prices, we're not feeling it yet. In fact, our bill has been going up.
And what's interesting again is that EPIRA was formulated, the law itself was formulated at a period of time that could not have anticipated the realities that this country is facing today. So it's going to be interesting whether this administration will actually look at this to try to bring the cost of electricity down.
Especially now that we have supply issues. We have very thin reserves because the EPIRA has been hanging there and
Yes, and hasn't been implemented. It was supposed to have been implemented last
fully implemented.
December.
Just bits and pieces
Right.
have been implemented, but so far we've been privatizing the existing plants, but we haven't had enough. We haven't attracted enough yet to build new power plants. That takes a lot of time.
Correct. And what's interesting now is, like the time of President Ramos, we're getting power blackouts in Mindanao.
Right.
We were just recently in Naga, in Bicol, and they were talking about power blackouts. Short term, what can the government do about this? You've been covering this a long time.
It's hard to do short because the short term. Like, remember what happened to the Ramos administration? The short term. Solution
Which
was
were-
to buy
Yes.
costly ones,
Yes.
generators, diesel, bad for
Yes.
the environment.
Right.
Something that you import, the country is exposed to foreign exchange.
And that was actually when we built the coal-fired plants, because they were the easiest to build.
Yes.
We did buy, operate, transfer.
IPPs, we bought barges which use very expensive diesel. Basically, that's what's happening in Mindanao right now, just to augment supply. Power plants take years to build. It's not like a building that can be put up in a couple of months or
Correct.
a couple of. in a year or two. This one